So my name's James Robbins and I'm a doctor working in South Yorkshire, having studied here for 6 years. And in January 2015 I rowed across the Atlantic Ocean with a team of 7 other people. I met a man called Leven Brown who's very famous in the world of ocean rowers and indeed has rowed across the Atlantic Ocean solo and also with other crews. So it's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to row across an ocean, and it's one of those expeditions that really is a true adventure. You're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which can throw anything at you. We're just about to set off this evening on Avalon to row across the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm in the forward cabin, and you can see still need to put a bit of stuff in here, but we've got some little sleeping arrangements down here. These little holes where people can sleep are affectionately known as coffins. This is the deck. You can see the stern cabin in the distance. We look forward and this is across the bow. You can see all of our stickers, the sponsorship on the side and a few flags of nationality. The expedition started from Gran Canaria, from Puerto de Mogán, and we set off at midnight. Now we rowed into the night and the conditions were pretty horrible actually. It was a very confused sea, and what I mean by that is that there were waves coming from all angles, there's no real consistent wind, and so we were completely battling against the conditions for about 24 to 48 hours at least. So we were working really hard, getting completely soaked, and also coming to terms with what we'd signed up for and thinking, why did I put myself down for this? But after a few days things settled down, the sea became less confused and we got into a more consistent rhythm. Now the route you take is southwest from Gran Canaria for maybe 900 or so miles, and then you go west, and there are some winds called the trade winds which have been used for centuries to get ships across the ocean. So in total this route's about 3,000 miles.
Good morning. So it's day 9 on our Atlantic crossing, and it's all rather exciting really because we are a quarter of the way to Barbados. So we found out last night that we've done over 700 miles. Bit of a difficult 24 hours, very tiring. The boat slowed a bit overnight, so we put in a big session, Dunne, Lennox, Caetano and myself, and since then it's very hard to recover, getting less than 2 hours rest. Having said that, we're all getting into the routine, getting used to cooking, cleaning, sleeping. What have we got today, Caetano? What's for breakfast? It's been a long night.
Mac and cheese for my friend Jamie, and some Asian noodles for me.
So obviously it's a really big undertaking, and rowing an ocean seems to be one of the hardest endurance events that you can do. The routine is that you row for 2 hours and then rest for 2 hours. You do that continuously over a period of 24 hours until you hit land. So obviously that involves a big physical undertaking of the body, and despite the fact that you're consuming huge amounts of calories, you lose considerable amounts of weight.
So Caetano, I need to ask you a solid question. Does my bum big in this?
No, it's quite tiny.
Quite tiny.
It's all gone.
So my training was really around putting on strength, muscle, and also putting on a good layer of fat, which I could then break down in order to complete the challenge. Doing that kind of routine is completely exhausting, so keeping going is really tough. For such a ridiculous expedition, you have to be mentally very well prepared, and you have to really want to succeed and anticipate how you're going to deal with any problems.
So it's day 10 and we're still rowing, as you can imagine, because we're expecting a lull in the weather tomorrow, Saturday and also on Sunday. However, it's been really slow, really difficult in the oars, going at sort of around 2 knots, which is pretty slow for us to be honest. So we all find it pretty hard. We're also trying to stay positive about the record as well, because we really need some big 100+ days to get across in record breaking time. Otherwise we're all getting into the routine now, but the night shifts are pretty tough, particularly the shift between 4:20 and 6:20 in the morning. I think I've hallucinated a couple of times now, seeing crew members in front of me, been waking up at the incorrect hours, putting on all my stuff and then realising I didn't need to be getting up. I think it's all getting to us a little bit. few weird dreams so far. Had one a couple of nights ago where I just dreamt that I was looking at beef burgers being stacked slowly onto a plate, and there were about 6 there, one after the other, just slowly. And I just remember just dreaming that my mouth was open and just drooling, and just in absolute ecstasy. Woke up, went on to my shift, and then found out from Dunne, who was sleeping next to me, that he saw me with my eyes half open and my mouth open as if I was drooling. So it really was living the dream.
So ideally when you row across an ocean, you hope that the weather's on your side. Now, when I talk about bad weather for rowing, it means a slightly different concept to bad weather in an ocean. Now, we had a 2-week period in the middle of the expedition where the water was completely flat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and in fact we also had counter currents going against us. So we were all working really hard and not making the mileages that we were hoping to.
1st of February 2015. This morning we were averaging about 1.8, 1.9 knots, and now we're probably looking at maybe 2.7, 2.8 knots. So really hard graft, not getting much help from the conditions whatsoever, with virtually no wind most of the day anyway.
Now you add into this the blistering tropical heat, and a 2-week period of rowing 12 hours a day is really, really tough. And that's why the time that we ended up getting to Barbados was about 2 weeks after what we hoped to achieve.
Day 14 and 2 weeks at sea now. Things of interest that have happened today. Stuart passed a rather loose motion into the bucket behind us while we were rowing, and neglected to check the wind direction when he dipped it overboard. So both myself and Dunne in the stroke position got some kind of splash. Not entirely sure what the splash was. I decided that I don't want to know, don't want to check, it's on my back, so we're just going to pretend it didn't happen. Bit of an update, the wind's improved today, a little bit stronger than yesterday, about 300 miles from halfway now, so it's Wednesday today, so I'd be disappointed if we weren't there on Sunday. It all depends on what the weather does. Otherwise, we're just sort of getting into normal routine really. I've done a rinse of my clothes today, including my shorts that I've worn for 2 weeks. And if I wasn't colourblind, I would tell you the colour of the water, but let's say it was rather unsanitary. One of the most frustrating things about these video diaries is that you can't share the experiences that you have at night. The stars last night were absolutely amazing, and you can see the Milky Way, see every single constellation that you'd know in the UK, plus many, many more, and the more you look at a space, the more stars appear. We have been in conditions of real calm for about 2 weeks now. There's no real current, no wind whatsoever, so it's a real haul, to be honest. I'd say 2 weeks of this is starting to really get to everyone. Also, things are now starting to hurt a bit. My left knee and right shoulder are starting to hurt. Right shoulder has actually been really well behaved, to be honest. That's one I've had an operation on, but I dislocated it the day before we set off, and then put it back in the middle of a side street in Puerto de Mogán with a little bit of help from my colleague Kay. Managed to stop it getting too swollen up. It's been fine for now. I think just with all this hauling, it's really started to hurt a little bit.
One thing that did keep me going throughout the expedition was doing the expedition for Neurocare, which is a charity that I strongly believe in. It helps to raise money for the local neurosurgical department for people with brain and spinal cord disorders, and what we've raised is at least £5,000 for that so far. When you find that you're having a tough time in the ocean, it sounds very cliche, but thinking about the suffering that other people are undergoing really does keep you going.
nowhere I'd rather be. Yesterday was a really hot day, pretty slow progress, but it was highlighted by the fact that we've made halfway and we all went for a celebratory swim. So it is swim time. Geronimo!
Hey, say hi. Hey,
4.5 miles below. Amazing. So it's day 34 and I'm in a rather good mood. There is wind and waves, which is rather fantastic because we've spent 15 days just pulling on the oars with no current helping us, no wind helping us whatsoever. So it's been absolutely brutal. It's been rather hot on deck as well, in the high 30s, so we've all just been absolutely exhausted. So finally the trade wind seemed to have built some really big waves, so 7 to 8 metre waves, which really help to power us along, and if you're not paying attention you can easily get wiped out by one.
We also found that some of the dangers in the ocean were shown to us. So we had a great white shark attack our boat about 1,600 miles into the journey.
I was having a bit of downtime in the bow cabin and got a big impact into the boat, and was told that it was a great white shark that just rammed the rudder at the stern, clearly trying to show who's boss. I think he's boss.
Now if someone had fallen overboard, obviously we could have had a bit of a mess to clear up.
Time is 3:15 in the afternoon. We're caught by a couple of squalls really. Now a squall is basically a big load of rain which comes on very quickly, little drip drops, and then out of nowhere builds and builds and hits you like a freight train and absolutely soaks you from head to toe. So it was rather interesting getting soaked wearing sunglasses. Day 31 and we are less than 1,000 miles from Barbados. Overnight, pretty tough actually. Everyone found the shifts really difficult. I think nearly everyone was late for their shift. Found it very exhausting just running through the night. So we're all hitting that stage where we're all just starting to get really knackered. Day 32 and I have just eaten a rather lovely chicken korma with rice. Last couple of nights was pretty alright, although before that I was found to be sleeping on the oars by my colleague Mr. Lennox, and it's reassuring to know that even when you are perhaps possibly asleep, that you still have this instinct to row. Day 36, maybe 37, maybe 35. Either way, it's a Thursday, good enough? Yeah, okay, cool, let's roll with it. So it's day 37 and we've just reached 400 miles to go mark. 400 to go, You can just see the excitement on her face. You can tell she's just happiness. She is nowhere she'd rather be, and we've got Mr. Stuart at the helm. So we'll keep going because we have no option. Day 40 on our road from Gran Canaria to Barbados. We are 253.9 statute miles away from Barbados. Day 41. I think it's day 40, but my Brazilian colleague is almost certain it is day 41. So we shall agree he's correct on this one. We're all quite excited. Hopefully be in Barbados within 48 hours if we're lucky. So it's about 7 o'clock in the evening on day 41 and we are 107 miles from Barbados.
Caleb, 10 minutes!
Good morning. It's the morning of the 43rd day of our voyage and miles we'll be able to see it on the horizon. This is really exciting. This is the first land that any of us have seen in 43 days at Barbados.
So it was really tough actually, the landing. Again, we had some really bad weather when we got to Barbados. We had some currents against us that kept threatening to push us out to sea. But having said that, we did make it past the north point of Barbados and obviously completed our crossing. But to get to Barbados is it's a very strange feeling, because you've been thinking about it for so long that once you get there, you're so exhausted that it's really overwhelming. I mean, we all got off the boat and tried to walk, and none of us could walk properly. You know, you'd walk in what you thought was a straight line, and you'd veer off to one side, and everyone's there, all your friends and family are there, and you find yourself completely overwhelmed because you've been interacting with 7 people for 43 days, nearly 44, and with such a simple lifestyle, all the complications of your everyday life has been left behind, that you get there and suddenly it's just so hard to take it all in, but also feels amazing. It's really hard to describe, but the beer tastes pretty good when you get on shore. I feel very privileged to have taken part, and very grateful to Leven Brown, the skipper, for giving me the opportunity, and also to my sponsors, Mr. Caetano and also Mr. Giles of South Yorkshire Orthopaedic Services Limited, for helping me to this expedition. I've learned a huge amount about myself. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, mentally and physically, but I've also seen a part of the world which very few people see. I've also made some lifelong friends in this expedition, some people who I've been through hell and high water, literally, and would do so again. And I feel privileged to have met such amazing and inspirational people from a variety of backgrounds, which have really informed my life since I've come back on land. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and I really appreciate all the support and help that I've been given over the past few months while preparing for this expedition, and also for everyone who came and met me out in Barbados. Specifically, I'd like to thank Sarah Gidding, my parents, my sister, and also Mr. Alex Caetano, Mr. Steve Giles, consultant orthopaedic surgeons at Rotherham Hospital, who work for South Yorkshire Orthopaedic Services Limited. Thank you for your ongoing support and for supporting the expedition. I really appreciate it. I'd also like to thank my close friends, Alex, Kieran, Johnny and Mike, and also Dominic. I really appreciate your support and hope that I can repay the favour one day.